I'm going to present a presentation for you, if I can. Just let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we see your screen. At least I see it on my end. Yeah.
So let's start. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for inviting us to participate in the Open Government Week. My name is Elisa. I am the Social Participation Manager of the General Controller of the State of Goiás. I'm going to talk to you about how Goiás is promoting civic education and social participation. So as Veronica has said, the state of Goiás is currently implementing the commitments of the first Open Government Action Plan. We have 4 commitments. The first commitment is to promote civic education and increase social participation through gamified programs and civic audits in order to strengthen each citizen's role in social transformation. So today I'm going to explain to you a little bit more how we are doing that with the Students with Attitude program. Our second commitment is to strengthen the ombudsman ecosystem, ensuring that citizens' demands are addressed with agility and effectiveness, placing society's needs at the center of government solutions. Our third commitment is to consolidate the state of Goiás as a benchmark in public transparency, aligned with national and international indicators, and to co-create the concept of proactive transparency so as to ensure that public information is always accessible and understandable to all. Our last commitment, the fourth commitment, is to strengthen open governments through innovative technologies, aligning public policies with the sustainable development goals, and ensuring that scientific development and sustainability are pillars of the open government policy. So let's talk about how Goiás is strengthening social participation and civic education through a very important and special project, which in Portuguese is called Estudantes de Atitude, which translates to Students with Attitude. What is Students de Atitude? What is Students with Attitude? It is a competition among state schools that promotes student and school community engagement and participation. Through missions, the students are encouraged to become civic protagonists and contribute to improving the school environment. The school, their respective teachers, and the outstanding students are rewarded in a ceremony that happens every year at the end of the year. With each completed mission, the school earns points, and at the end, the schools with the highest scores will be recognized during the closing ceremony. So what are the missions that they have to take to participate in Students with Attitude? First, they have to form a team which will be responsible for the project inside the school. I'm sorry, the image here is not translated, but I will translate the missions to you. So first they need to form a team, and they also have to create a chant. This part is very creative. They have to use some keywords such as ethics, transparency, citizenship, and create a chant that will represent their school. The second step is one of the most important steps. It's the civic audit. The students receive questionnaires with questions about the school environment and the places where they study, such as the classroom, the kitchen, the game center where they play games, sports, such as that. And they receive the questionnaires to audit the spaces and also the relationships inside the school. With that in hand, they will create a challenge so as to solve a problem that was first identified in the audit. We also have a special task that is developed each year and is always a surprise. This year, we will deal with the climate issue. So in the end of the year, the school that has the most points will be awarded in our closing ceremony. I brought you here a little bit about the trajectory of Students with Attitude. The project started in 2019 with 105 schools. And right now, in 2025, we have 815 schools taking part in the project. It is a voluntary project, so all the schools want to participate. We have 237 municipalities of the state of Goiás taking part. Just for you to understand how big the project is, in Goiás, we have 246 municipalities. So just 9 municipalities are not participating with us this year. And we have over 38,000 students directly engaged in the project this year. So it is a very big project. So for you to understand the examples in practice of what the students are developing here in the state of Goiás. In Trindade, the attitude team from Cesar Alencastro Veiga State School identified the need to change the school's energy source, and they successfully did so with the support from the school community without using any public funds. The same attitude team also succeeded in passing a municipality law that created the Junior Social Agent Program, enabling students to intern at the local Social Assistance Reference Center. Another school, the Helena Nasser State School in Formosa, developed an app to help citizens combat dengue, which is a malady here in Brazil that is a big problem for our country. This app allows users to report mosquito breeding sites, locate the nearest health center, and learn about the main symptoms of the disease. And what is most important, the reports created in the app are forwarded to the local health surveillance office, which helps it to develop strategies to combat the disease. Students from Padre Pelágio State School in Trindade renovated an abandoned area of the school, transforming it into the skills hub. And the space was designed to have specialized classes and also to serve as a dedicated area for students with special needs. Another example, at the Military Police School, Pastor José Antero Ribeiro, the students identified the need to address traffic-related issues. So they created an educational traffic blitz, engaging with the public to raise awareness and encourage safer traffic behavior. Something that was really important for the state of Goiás was to understand how the students felt about the program. We wanted to understand how it changed them, how it changed their perception of how they are citizens that have responsibilities in their state and in their country. So we conducted a research to hear from the students. So an example of a question that we had in this research was, based on the activities you carried out, how do you perceive the impact of your actions on your school and the broader community? So one of the answers was, within the school, the social environment improved greatly. Everyone became more connected. In the broader community, besides the physical improvements to the school, there was definitely a shift in the mindset of the young participants, such as realizing the importance of taking care of public property. So I think I have already used all of my time, so I will not be able to share the other perspectives, but I hope you could understand a little bit more about what we are doing here in the state of Goiás. If you have any questions, I will share my email with you. You can send me questions in my email, and also if we have some time and space for questions, I am open and willing to answer all of them. But thank you for your time. That was all for today.
Thank you, Lisa, so much. I think it is really impressive to see how much investment you make in education. I think we see across the globe these days the need for more efforts to educate, capacitate from the early ages on various topics. I think this is really, really commendable, you know, the degree to which you take open government to the different audiences, including the young population. As I said, I think this is probably one of the most important investments we as societies have to make, especially when we are faced with enormous disinformation, misinformation. I'm talking, you know, through the lens of the region we are based in, and this is extremely important. Thank you so much for sharing your practices. I'm sure colleagues in the room, our Ukrainian colleagues, may have reflections and follow-up questions. I encourage them to write those down, and we will have about 10 minutes in the end to pick on some of the questions and reflections in the room. Without any further ado, I would like us to move to the next speaker, who is from Madrid, Spain. Ángela Pérez Brunete, she is the Director General of Transparency, Madrid City Council, and she's going to share with us about their practices related to youth participation in something that is called Decide Madrid. Really looking forward to get more insights about that. But very brief, Madrid joined OGP as part of the 2016 cohort. And they are currently implementing 5 commitments, which are part of their 2024-2027 action plan. And this action plan features commitments related to citizen participation and inclusion. And yeah, the floor is yours. Again, 7 minutes, and please pay attention sometimes to the chat, because I am writing there when you have just 2 minutes left. So to the extent possible. Yeah? Okay, so.
Okay, thank you very much, Veronica. Thank you to everyone for inviting Madrid to be here. We are really proud to be in this summit, in this event, especially during the circumstances. So thank you very much. We are really happy to speak about this commitment, because it's one of our, as Isabel was saying first, for us is really relevant that the young people get to know the ideas of open government, to share them, and especially to debate in between them, so they can grow and educate themselves as citizens that can participate in society they live in. Why we include this commitment in the 4th? I'm not going to show any PPT or anything, because this is a commitment that we are working on, and we don't have yet photos, or so I will only speak a little bit. What I was saying is that we in the third open government plan, we are, as Veronica said, we are in the 4th. We had this pilot test that made with 95 children and teenagers, and we realized that they want to be part and feel listened and to be involved in the city problems. And the issues they are most aware of are environment and sustainability, cleanliness, and looking after the city. And most of the young people that were interviewed didn't know about the platform that we have. It's called Decide Madrid. It's a participation platform that has over 500,000 participants, but only 5% are between 16 and 25. So we thought it would be great to make its own platform, so they can have their own environment to decide and to learn about techniques and tactics to bring participation to younger people. So that's what we did in the first pilot, in the third open government plan, but in this 4th we have a whole commitment for it. And what are we doing? We are, first of all, we are gathering with different stakeholders, associations, youth committees, or specialized organizations for young people. We are gathering with them and with different groups of people between 14 and 18. We are asking them what would be the content of this platform we are creating, how could they participate, and at the same time, we are dealing with a public contract for moderated, because they need specific moderation to ensure that these teenagers are accompanied, as well as the creation of the content that encourages them to participate is correctly, and we really can implement the solutions they are facing. They are promoting for the problems they think the city has. At the same time, we are developing the platform with IT department, and we are creating different kind of audiovisual materials, such as reels for TikTok, Instagram, so they can have their own content and they can attract more young people. It's very important, because that is the social media is the way they relate with the others. So we thought that would be very, very important. And those are the main highlights of this project. As I was saying, we thought they can have their own space, but it has to be guided. they are not well educated in what are the procedures to participate, or also how to implement solutions for the challenges we have. So we want to go with them and also giving them all the tools they need to participate. So this is the main project. If you have any doubts or you have any hesitations, please come back to me or to my colleague, Maria Pia, that she is also a member of this OGP local group. We will be really happy to answer you back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I think I'm hearing myself back in the room. Okay, and there was a hand of applause for you, Angela, on your practices. I think we heard really interesting and important aspects related to the value of co-creation. So while they are not well prepared enough to implement certain solutions, there is a guided approach to this process, which is really, really commendable, really, really good. You know, the fact that you generate audio contents and materials and you place them, you reach out to them through the social media tools where they are currently are. This is also an important aspect. It is important to, in a way, fill in that information space with things that matter, with content which is meaningful and transformational. So this is, it is really interesting.
Перекладача нема, він, може, його викинуло з
It is also
оригіналу.
important to learn from those experiences. I think I'm hearing the translation as well. Anyway, yeah, Angela, thank you so much for sharing from your practices. And again, colleagues in the room, if you are particularly interested in this commitment and how to bring young people into the co-creation and co-implementation of the very specific solutions, then I think Madrid gives us interesting practices. Without any further ado, I would like to move to the other corner of the globe, which is all the way to Philippines, to South Cotabato. We have Marites Tanseco, apologies if I'm mispronouncing it, who is a project officer, and she will share with us about the engagement with youth and the public sector with aspects related to innovation and technology. Just a brief note, South Cotabato joined OGP as part of the 2018 cohort, and they are currently implementing 3 commitments from their 2022-2025 action plan. And this action plan features commitments, again, related to youth participation, but also access to information, infrastructure monitoring, among a few others. So, yeah, the floor is yours, Marite, and again, 7 minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Veronica. So, hi, everyone. I'm actually going to present on behalf of Ma'am Marites Tanseco. So, I'm Rio and Dobry din, everyone. Sorry, I can't speak your beautiful language. But anyway, yeah, let me start on my presentation. So, yeah, we were tasked to present on our commitments on youth. So let me begin with that first. So this one is from our second action plan. So actually, we had our first action plan back in 2018 to 2020, and we sort of put the youth on the sidelines for that one. So they were front and center for this second action plan. And they were not appraised of what open government partnership was. So that was our focus for one of our commitments on the second action plan. So it says here that our youth leaders at this point in 2022, when this commitment was formed, is they had very little knowledge when it came to open information and open contracting and open government in general. So what we did was we organized 50 youth ambassadors. We educated them on these concepts by going to schools and communities. So this was happening over the pandemic. So these were held over Zoom, or in classrooms, in other venues that we could use. And we also involved them in other open government activities. So this was a photograph from their culmination activity back in March 2023, where they presented proposals that they came up with themselves after they were trained for several sessions throughout the implementation of this commitment. And now we have 50 youth ambassadors that we could tap for certain initiatives. Okay, so moving on to the next one, we have an intervention for the public sector. And I would just like to bring the CSO Academy to everyone, civil society organization activities. So although we are very fortunate to have a dynamic CSO sector, but despite their willingness, at this point, they did not have the capacity to participate meaningfully in local special bodies. So what we did was we partnered with the Association of Foundations as well as other line agencies, national line agencies and other civil society organizations to come up with this academy, CSO Academy of our region. It was the first of its kind in the Philippines. And of course, its aim was to assist local government units in capacitating their CSO. So this is a year-long module training of our CSOs. We trained them on budgeting processes, other government processes, so their participation will be much more meaningful when they are informed, when they know how to participate exactly. So we are really proud of this intervention, and I would love to talk to you, share more about this with you later if we have the time. Just very briefly, this is our first batch of graduates last 2023. I think we had 20 scholars, and then we have for the first batch, and we have another 21 for the second batch. And this CSO Academy has been benchmarked by several other provinces who are now holding their own CSO academies. And this one actually is not under an OGP commitment. So that's just a testament to how our province is really committed to propagating the principles, OGP principles of transparency, civic participation, and accountability. And last one, just very briefly touch on one commitment we had that's related to innovation and technology. So this one was from our first action plan and was, we came up with this way back in 2018. It's under open legislation, and the problem that came up during the co-creation of our first action plan is that citizens wanted more avenues where they can provide input or propose legislative measures on the provincial level, as well as to make the legislative process more transparent. So under that commitment, we had a couple other milestones, but I would just like to highlight one of our solutions, which was to establish online and offline media channels in the form of publicizing or live streaming our legislative sessions, weekly sessions. So there was a resolution that came out of that, and this was not the first. This was not the first time that the session was streamed, but this started around 2019 or 2020, and we have been able to maintain this live streaming until today. So you can see on your screens, this was taken in May 19, 2025. That was just last Monday. So it is still ongoing. We were able to maintain it, and a lot of citizens tune into the weekly sessions. These are our legislators, our provincial legislators during one of their sessions. So yeah, thank you so much. That's all for my presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Also really interesting examples of the commitments. I think I'm really interested in the CSO Academy and the degree to which this could become sustainable hubs at the local level. And could you comment?
We are looking to institutionalize it, just like what we have done with the open legislation commitments. Anyone who wants more details about the presentation, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are very much willing to tell you more about these commitments. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. And in moving forward, we move to one of my dear countries because I'm a citizen of both Republic of Moldova and Romania, and we have Despina with us today. And I think we need to congratulate ourselves and Romanians for making a really impressive and well done choice in the presidential elections. This last Sunday, we voted for a pro-European candidate, despite all the hurdles and all the challenges and all the disinformation and interference and so on. So from my perspective, I think the vote for Romania is also a vote for Ukraine. So well done. And without any further ado, in the context of open government agenda, we want to look into the ways to increase citizen participation. Despina is head of participatory governance and neighborhood management from the Timișoara, which is in the western part of Romania. And Timișoara joined OGP as part of the 2020 cohort, so they have some experience now. Their latest action plan was for the years 2022 to 2024, and indeed also featured commitments related to citizen participation, open data, participatory budgeting, capacity building on open government. And today we will hear more specifically about the practices around citizen participation. Despina, microfonul este al dumneavoastră.
Mulțumesc. Hi everyone, thank you for inviting me to share our local experience with OGP. It is true that we have already ended our first local action plan, and we are currently working on wrapping up this first action plan and starting to work on the next commitments that we will undertake this year. So I will try to share what we have done in terms of increasing citizens' participation. There are several types of works we have done, but one of them is to start earlier in the decision-making process to engage citizens. And we did that for several big investment projects within the city through different types of participation. We had in-person meetings. Most of them were done we decided to split the whole process in 2 or 3 meetings, because the first meeting will be to present the project to the citizens, to actually understand what is the whole plan, and then to allow them a bit more time to go into details and then provide feedback. So for some of them, we had several in-person meetings, doubled by an online platform, which was inspired by the Madrid municipality, because we also implemented Decidim in Timișoara, and we collected feedback also online. All these steps were done before the decision reached the local council, which is also mandatory by the law to have consultations and public debates when reaches that step of the decision-making process. But we try to push this to engage people earlier, and to also communicate directly and attract different types of citizens that are not usually engaged in the public decisions. They don't maybe follow the news that we post on our website, or just don't have the capacity to engage. So we also had several meetings with associations that deal with people with disabilities, for example, for one of the projects, and engage the local community of bikers, because when these big investment infrastructure projects are happening, they change a lot of things that impact these 2 types of citizens. What we have did also is to create a team of neighborhood managers that represent a certain number of neighborhoods within the city, and they are closely connected to the citizens. They know better their needs and the problems they face in their day-to-day life, and then it can come back to the municipality specialist and try to push their needs on the agenda. So this is one of the things we implemented a few years back. And another things, one of the commitments we had in our first participatory, in our first action plan was to develop and implement a participatory budgeting program. We already have reached experience through 3 kind of programs, and we learned from one edition to the other how to adapt to the realities we see in our cities. For example, one of the changes that we made in the second edition was based on the fact that we noticed there were areas within the city where people did not engage, did not make proposal, and did not participate in voting either. So in the second edition, we proposed to have dedicated budget for 4 marginalized areas and invest more time and energy to go through these communities together with NGOs that worked closely with these communities and try to facilitate the municipality access there and to present the concept of participatory budgeting and collect proposals for these areas and engage them more directly in the whole process. Based on this experience, in the third edition, we managed to split the whole budget. Instead of having a budget for the whole city for certain domains, we had a budget for 8 areas. We split geographically the city in 8 areas, and each area had a dedicated budget, and they could compete only within themselves and not with other areas, because the competition was not really fair between more dense areas with maybe flats compared to areas where there are less people living there. And yeah, all the budget or the projects were actually concentrated more in this in the center of the city or in the neighborhoods where the population was more dense. So it was really interesting to see how these small changes affected the number of people that engaged in the process. And we were happy to have from one edition to the other an increase of almost 50% of people. So we started with around 7,000 people in the first edition, and we reached almost 12,000 people in the last edition. So each change brought a new type of audience into the process. And we learned that if we engage citizens and provide them with the tools to promote their projects within their communities, the impact is multiplied greatly. So the last edition showed that the role of ambassadors in each of these 8 areas helped a lot to bring the campaign to a whole new audience. So in a nutshell, this is our experience with the participatory budgeting. And if anyone has questions, I'm open to answer.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Despina. I think for the context of Ukraine, in particular, you know, your practices in involving citizens early in the decision-making processes, particularly around you mentioned the investment projects, is really relevant because Ukraine right now at the Hromada level, they have to deal with the recent amendments of the budget code, which actually implies development of the medium-term programs or local programs. And this means bringing different citizens into the decision-making processes early on. It's also related to Ukraine's public investment management system and a single pipeline at the local level. So I think it's really interesting that Ukraine can extract some of the practices from Romania. You also mentioned this neighborhood managers. I think for the context of Ukraine, it's also relevant because, you know, in the context of martial law, how do you ensure that you bring all the array of citizens into the decision-making processes? We deal with IDPs, we deal with diaspora, we deal with veterans, we deal with a lot of diverse groups of citizens that have to be heard and have to participate. So yeah, I see immediate kind of translation of some of your practices, particularly because you mentioned the investment project. So really, really interesting, and I'm sure our colleagues in Ukraine will follow up. Thank you so much for sharing your practices with us. And I think the last presentation takes us to another side of the globe, which is to Mexico. And we are going to Quintana Roo with Maria Elena Saldago Zagal, who is a delegate to Benito Juarez of the Anti-Corruption and Good Governance Secretariat, government of the state of Quintana Roo. And Quintana Roo joined OGP as part of the 2020 cohort, so they still have they have already some years of experience, and they're currently implementing full commitments from their 2023-2025 action plan. This action plan features commitments related to the state's sustainable development, fiscal openness reinforcement, environmental anti-corruption, and overall modernization of the local governance. So without any further ado, 7 minutes and we go to Mexico. Do we have the colleague from Mexico with us? Let's see. Okay, Maria Elena, are you with us? Okay, we may not have Mexico colleagues with us. Okay, maybe there is a problem with the mic. Bear with us. Okay. It's a problem with translation. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay, and while we check and we clarify on the technical issue, I think colleagues in the room, you can start preparing some of the specific questions you may have for our colleagues who are still with us today. Despina is still here, Angela is still here, Elisa is still here. So yeah, take advantage of this opportunity because I know you are also implementing interesting commitments at the local level. Okay, there is at the moment no translation. Okay, but do we have Mexico with us? Do we have Maria Elena with us? Let's see. Okay. Ta-da. Nastya or Alexei, if you can jump in.
Yeah, Veronica, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Alexei.
All our participants interesting. What about Moldova implementing OGP plan and how working OGP local coordination council?
Yes, I heard you. Alexei. I think there is, at this point, there is not that much to share about Moldova's. Moldova recently joined the OGP, so it joined the local OGP cohort last year, and we have two communities, two cities, small cities. You know, in Ukraine terms, Lova and Kausheny are villages, given the magnitude and how big the Ukrainian cities are. But we started the process with one of the cities, with Lova. And what is important to note is that in Moldova, at the local level, we have this voluntary amalgamation of the communities. I think you in Ukraine went through this process, if I'm not wrong, sometime around 2016, 2015, 2016. So Moldova is right now going through this voluntary amalgamation, and we are looking at the ways in which we can bring open government tools and practices in to ensure that the amalgamation process is more inclusive, is more participatory, is more transparent, is more accountable, and so on. So we are working closely with Lova, which is at the moment the most proactive OGP local member. And yeah, they are still in the process. We are not there yet with the action plan. They have to be ready with the action plan sometime soon. So I'm also supporting them in this process. But again, as I said, I think we are concentrating the efforts around the voluntary amalgamation, and we are looking into the ways those processes could be done with the open government tools in the most effective possible way. I think in terms of the coordination committee at the local level, they have not yet set up a full coordination committee. They are working on that. And honestly speaking, I think there are not so many civil society organizations or institutions that they could formalize let's say a proper committee at the moment, but they are looking into the ways to set up a platform which would ensure a smooth co-creation, co-design of the action plan, but also then implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. I think at the national level, like in Ukraine, we have quite a robust approach in terms of the OGP Coordination Committee, and we made sure that we have a seat in the National Coordination Committee allocated for the local government. So that's how we ensure communication from the Central Coordination Committee on OGP to the local level. Yeah, so I think in Moldova this is a great opportunity for us to learn from what is happening in OGP local experiences, and I think this session today is also enriching. And I have a later call with colleagues from Lova, so certainly a couple of experiences would be relevant for the work that they are currently doing. Yeah, so that's very brief on Moldova. I think in Moldova we have a lot to learn from, including from Ukraine, because you are so much ahead in terms of the ways you do it locally. I don't see I don't see our Mexican colleague, so I understand that
Maybe I will translate what you said, because there is no translation. Можливо, я коротко перекладу те, що сказала пані Вероніка. Вам треба переклад, чи всі розуміють англійську? Треба переклад, ні? Нічого не чую. Ну, хорошо, добре. Окей. Тоді, тобто треба чи ні? Так, хорошо. Не треба, добре. Okay, so you can continue. They don't need, everyone speaks English.
Okay. Now, I'm sure many colleagues have a good understanding of English. I interacted with several colleagues at OGP local in Ukraine, so I think that the level of understanding is pretty good. But yes, Alexei, just to wrap up this session, I think colleagues, we heard about several topics emerging from the local level: youth engagement, education. I think it is really inspiring to see how many OGP local members are prioritizing young people. I think in Ukraine, you also do a lot of work around engaging young people in the local processes and the local decision-making processes. I think some of the presentations reminded us that civic education is not nice to have. It is a strategic investment, and empowering youth with different tools and knowledge and space to act is really foundational for sustaining open government values over time. We understand that citizen engagement earlier in the process, as we saw in case of Timisoara, is really incremental, particularly in the investment projects, diversifying the tools, reaching out to citizens who are typically not engaged in decision-making processes is really important. So I think just to conclude and moving forward, maybe it's worth considering a deeper exchange between countries, and that exchange could take place on different topics that are of particular importance and relevance for the current Ukrainian context. And for Ukraine, there is a huge value in deeper exchange and understand how these practices can help reconstruct Ukraine, rebuild Ukraine better, rebuild Ukraine more inclusively with all the stakeholders around the table, marginalized communities, IDPs, diasporas, veterans, youth. So yeah, I think there is a lot to take on board from the OGP local practices, and yeah, thank you so much to everyone who connected today. Thank you so much for all the OGP members who are sitting in the room, and Slava Ukraina. Enjoy the rest of the day, have productive discussions, and thanks once again for the opportunity to connect with you today, to feel the vibe from Kiev, and to wish you all the best in your local initiatives. Дякую.
Thank you for support Ukrainian people and for our meeting. Давайте ще раз подякуємо. Отже, колеги, без мікрофона, на жаль, у нас співпали технічні складнощі, але